welcome to another edition of the Blacktor Studio. Today we have with us an amazing actor, playwright, and director, Miss Cherissa Richards.
Hi!
Hi, beautiful girl.
Oh, so excited to be here.
Thank you so much. As always, I'd like to start this episode off with the first question. Let's start at the very beginning. Where were you born, Cherissa Richards?
I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Right on.
Treaty 1 territory.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Winterpeg. Woo!
Peg, baby. Yeah. I've got the winter peg in my blood. Although I will say, being from Winnipeg and growing up here, I don't like the snow. I don't like the cold.
No.
I think I endure it, but wow, I need warmth. The lovely thing about Winnipeg is there's tons of sun, so even in like -40, it's still really sunny. But man, I love warm weather.
Possibly because, I don't know, we're Trinidad and Tobago sisters. You were born in Winnipeg, but your parents were born in Trinidad and Tobago.
My papa was born in Trinidad in St. James, Port of Spain, and my mom is just a regular old white lady, German Mennonite white lady from Winnipeg, Manitoba. So got a little German and a little Trinidadian.
I mean, we like to mix it up over here. We are a mixed community, friends.
Yes.
All shades and colors.
Trinidad's very mixed too. I'm always surprised when I go there how it's really multicultural.
Yes, well, that's like my mom is South Asian and like Portuguese and white and black, and my dad is like black and white and Venezuelan. Like there's like a huge mix up happening. Not that there isn't some shadism, racism happening in Trinidad, but I will say, if you want to go to a multicultural island and have the best party of your life, hopefully it will happen again
one day,
you need to get to Trinidad and Tobago for Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, friends. The best party in the world.
It's true.
Do you have any siblings?
I pretty much grew up as an only child. I lived my life as an only child, which has been really good in this pandemic because I know how to be alone. The joy of an only children is you also can do really well in crowds and are great with people, but you also are really good at, or I should speak for myself, I'm really great at having my own time. I came back from Stratford from doing a directing internship at Stratford when all hell broke loose. And I was really relieved to come home, in fact. This has been the longest stretch I've lived in my own place like this. So
I know it's a really cool thing because I was traveling for so long, and then all of a sudden, like there was this moment that I could pause and just be in one place for an extended period of time and see family and friends that you never really get to see. Being in one place allowed me and others like yourself who've been on the move for our whole careers, successful working actors, friends. As you say, you're very lucky because you already lived with your own individuality and understood how it was to be alone and not lonely, which is two different things, friends.
For sure.
What do your parents do?
They're both retired. They are both teachers. My father was a science teacher, chemistry, biology, and my mom taught English and drama and later became a guidance counselor.
So, oh my God, amazing mix.
Yeah, it was really cool. I'm in an age in my life where my parents are older and getting ill and, especially with my father, it's fascinating to see the life of a man who lived his life to the extremes. And it's like, this is the time where I'm trying to extract all the stories that I can from him. I'm desperate to get all the information I can. My father is such a storyteller in his day. All he did is talk and tell tales. So now is the time where I'm trying to get as much information as I can. And I'm really fascinated by my culture and this thing of Trinidadian culture is you were meant to be seen and not heard as children. It shocks him sometimes that I'm asking him these things about our past and about his family and his past, because you don't ask those questions.
You don't ask those questions. I know exactly what you're talking about. We are very much a keeping up appearances culture. Yeah. So nothing's talked about.
It's fascinating. Kim Rampersad, we're family friends, and I had contacted her. I was like, isn't this wild? How it is daughters of Trinidadian families, and the difference between Black American storytelling and just, I think as a theater maker, I'm always fascinated by storytelling. So the fact that in African American history, those stories are passed down from generation to generation. But in the Caribbean, in my experience of Trinidadian history, we don't pass those stories down the same way. So they get a little lost, and you have to really seek them out. But there's a lot of secrecy.
There's so much secrecy. And then again, you're getting it from, as you say, aging minds. So who knows how much of it is fact and, and not fiction necessarily, but just their rose colored glasses telling you the story from their specific point of view.
Mm.
It's sad for me to know that there's a bunch of history that's being lost just because there's so much secrecy in the West Indian culture.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what that's about.
It makes me rethink, like, why didn't I ask more of these stories when I was a kid? I didn't care about that stuff. It's only
You
now.
can't ask those stories when you're a kid, girl. We,
That,
again, seen and not heard. We are not asking
I
those
mean, even
questions.
now, I'm a grown ass woman, and they're like, "No, you're not supposed to ask that." It's like, okay. And maybe it's the Canadianness in me, but I'm like, damn, come on. Important stories passing on. How do I tell my family about this? And like, I want to carry on these stories. What if I wanted to write a play about you? I can't even do that. I can't even honor you in a story because
I don't know.
it's just like we're steeped in secrecy.
I don't think it's the Canadian in us. Our curiosity
Yeah.
as women and humans, but I mean now we're allowed, there's a new generation that we're
Mhm.
allowed to ask questions and push back against society and push back against the hierarchy. And so all of a sudden we're like, okay, well, if I'm pushing back on all of that, I need to know what my history is, to know what I'm pushing against, to know if this is something that I actually need to fight. Part of our curiosity, I will speak for you and me right now because we're talking about it, is that we're interested in our past so that we can have some sort of future
Mhm.
fueled in something in history. Like there's like I want to be able to say this is where my family comes from.
Ah, what a shame.
What a shame. Where did you go to school?
I went to school in Winnipeg. I wasn't really into theater growing up. I found theater later in life. I moved to Toronto at 19 by myself, just picked up and left. So my mom, I'm like, I'm moving to Toronto. And she's like, okay. And I went to Toronto and I did some modeling, and then I started doing some commercial work and stuff like that, and some acting work just kind of via modeling. And I kind of fell in love with it more from like the pageantry of it all, and the ooh and the ah and the lights and the glitz and the glamour. I lived in Toronto for a couple of years and did some modeling, and then moved back to Winnipeg because I got homesick, and with some boy that I probably was like in love with. And
Isn't that always the way?
always a boy. The boy I was dating had done the theater program here, University of Winnipeg. It's a pretty good theater school program. It's even better now than it was then, but there was like a real magic about it, and there was some really cool teachers that I had that just like instilled the love of theater for me and in me, and that's where I really fell in love with theater, was in my undergrad, and that kind of started my journey as an actor, and I haven't stopped ever since. Really, after I did my BA, I went to NTS for a year. Unfortunately, NTS, there was a changeover that year, so all it was like steeped in all this history of like Perry Schneiderman, and it was like NTS is so great. And I got there, and it was like the NTS experience I wanted was just a little bit more of an MFA kind of a feel, and it wasn't that. And I think I was confronted with some fears in me that I wasn't ready to deal with, and I thought I'm just going to go to Toronto and be an actor. And so I left after a year, and always kind of held that regret within me. I like to finish things. I'm a perfectionist, and
Me
so
too. Me too,
yeah,
girl.
so that was hard. And I schlepped it in Toronto for a few years. And then I was in Trinidad after not being there for 20 years. I went back home with my father on a boat cruise. I found out about this MFA program at York in theater, and then came back to Toronto and did my MFA. And I was like, it's so strange that I had to come back to Trinidad after 20 years away to hear about this program that really is where my career got launched, I feel. And then I met Ida Holmes there and got into Shaw after that, and ups and downs along the way. But really, that was kind of the defining moment. My MFA program was the NTS experience that I didn't get. And I had a bit of a full circle moment because the last teacher I had in my year at NTS was the last teacher or director I had in my MFA.
Oh wow.
That full circleness comes up around a lot in my life, I'm noticing.
Well,
And
because we make plans, but then God laughs at them. So so there's that.
And I just decided at that moment, stay open to whatever life gives you. And I have been in this state of openness and receiving and working hard to like follow those dreams. I've been working for the past 5 years to really pursue directing, and it's been great. I've been able to work at some of the greatest theaters across the country. I was at Bard on the Beach for a season. I was at Shaw, at Stratford, and training with directors that I loved throughout the last 5 years too. And since I left Stratford from the pandemic, I was able to do a directing residency at NTS this past year in 2020. It's
Talk
been
about a
amazing.
full circle moment.
Totally walking up those steps to go back into that school 20 years later, almost to the day. Oh, it was really emotional and beautiful and exciting, and reclaiming my power in that place and letting go of the regrets that I had been holding on to for all those 20 years, and really was a nice way to tie up that bow.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode of the Blacktor Studio.
It's the openness that I think is what allows us to succeed in this business, in all businesses, in life. Looking at it in a different way and noticing that even when we have those moments of lack, are they moments of lack? Are they moments of learning? They don't have to be moments of depression if we
No.
can take a minute and go, okay, what is this for? Why is this happening?
I think it's also important to sit through those moments too. I remember a teacher I once had said, you got to sit in the shit. Oftentimes we're like, no, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. I'm happy, I'm happy. Like, no, sometimes you need to be sad. Sometimes you need to be angry. Sometimes you need to sit in the lack so that you can move through it. Don't get too tunnel vision into what you think your journey's supposed to be. And I think that's the thing that has allowed me to stay open to change and new experiences and growth and opportunities that are coming my way.